Dave Krupa was a mechanic working at a truck stop in 2000 when he met a friendly coworker named Amy Flora. The two started dating, got married, and had 2 children. Soon the couple bought a house and were living the American dream. Years down the road, Dave and Amy were busy raising their family and working separate shifts. As they struggled to make ends meet, the couple began to drift apart. Sadly, Dave and Amy realized that it was time to go their separate ways in 2012. Amy moved back to her hometown in Omaha, Nebraska to be closer to her family. While Dave only knew his ex and her family in Nebraska, he still chose to move there so he could be a part of his children's lives. Renting an apartment in Omaha, it did not take Dave long to find a job as a mechanic. While this move was to keep his children in his life and he was able to see his children regularly, there was still something missing. He felt lonely without that companion to walk through life with him. So he set up a profile on the Plenty of Fish dating website. It was through this website that he met a woman named Shanna Liz Gollier in late spring or early summer. Dave felt that he and Liz had a lot in common. Liz had 2 children and she owned her own cleaning business. He thought she was very down to earth and she had a love for animals. The two bonded over their love of motorcycles. The two went on a date, which went very well. Dave would go on to describe Liz as a smiley, energetic, and full of life type of person. The two continued to date, but Dave made it clear from the start he had just gotten out of a marriage and was not looking for anything serious. Liz appeared to understand and respect that Dave was not ready to commit to only one person. So she gave Dave his space, and when he needed her, she was there. Things were looking up for Dave. Not only did he have a casual girlfriend in his life, but he quickly became manager of the shop at his job. Then one day, near the end of October, an attractive woman walked into the shop. He instantly felt that there was a mutual attraction between them. Dave stated that there was just this instant spark and tension between him and the woman. But the woman came in to ask a question about her car before leaving again. Dave was looking around on the Plenty of Fish website and was surprised to see a picture of the same woman who had come into his shop. Carrie Farver, a 37-year-old single mother who grew up in the area and had a career in computer technology. Dave sent her a message on the website stating, "Hey, I know you." She replied back, "I know you." After this, they set up a time to meet. Dave believed Carrie was way out of his league, but the couple still had a great time on their first date, even though Liz was blowing up his phone with texts and calls. It was too much that he eventually told her he was on a date and couldn't talk. Afterwards, they decided to go back to Dave's apartment, but when they got there, the strangest thing happened. Liz showed up at his apartment, ringing the bell at the security door, crying and upset. She told Dave she needed to get her things. Carrie decided to leave, but to leave, she had to walk past Liz. The women exchanged glances as they walked past each other. But while Carrie continued on her way, Liz continued watching her get in her car and drive off. This set into motion a strange series of events that are equally chilling and bizarre. Welcome to another episode of Crimson Sin with Tamsin Lee. I am your host, Tamsin Lee. Full show notes and sources can be found in the description. So after Liz got her things and left Dave's apartment, he called Carrie. She was almost home when he called. Instead of turning around and going back to Dave's house, he decided to go to hers. The couple started seeing a lot of each other from then on. While he was reconsidering his bachelor life, Carrie was the one who wanted to keep things casual. While she did enjoy spending time with Dave, this arrangement was also beneficial for her because of a project at work. So they were spending a lot of time together. Both were comfortable with their relationship and enjoyed each other's company. But only a few weeks later, in November 2012, something changed. During this week, Carrie arranged for her son to stay with her mother and stepfather because of a week-long project at work that would require her to work long hours. Because Dave only lived 3 blocks from her work, he agreed to her staying at his apartment for the week. On November 13th, Dave gave Carrie a kiss before he left for work. Later that day, he received a text from her stating that they should officially move in together, which was odd because they had already discussed this. So he declined her offer. Then he started receiving angry messages in response, but he did not expect the hurtful and threatening messages he received. She would respond, "Fine, I don't ever want to see you again. Go away. I hate you. I'm dating somebody else." 2 days later, the threatening messages would start again. But Dave wasn't the only one receiving texts. Carrie's mother, Nancy, received a message that day stating that she moved to Kansas for a new job and would keep in touch to make arrangements for picking up her 15-year-old son, Max. Nancy thought this was odd and was surprised by the sudden announcement. She tried contacting her daughter for several days, wondering when she was going to pick up her son for an upcoming wedding, but she never received a response. This was unusual because Carrie and her mother typically had daily contact. On November 16th, Nancy contacted police to report her daughter missing when she failed to show up to her half-brother's wedding. But on November 15th, Carrie's employer received a text message from her stating that she was resigning and sending Liz Gollier to replace her. Later that day, Liz actually filled out an online application for the position. The next day, when Nancy reported Carrie missing, her debit card showed that she made 2 purchases in the Omaha area. One of these items happened to be a black and white shower curtain with a distinctive floral pattern. But then Carrie's actions become even more strange to those who knew her. She texted her mother with a photo of a $5,000 check made out to Liz Gollier, asking her mother to allow Liz inside her home to retrieve a bedroom set. Nancy was highly suspicious of this and immediately went to authorities about the strange text. Meanwhile, Dave was called to the office while at work one day to see 2 officers. They questioned him about Carrie, as he was the last person to see her. He then pulled out his phone, showing them the text messages he had received from her. Authorities also tried to get in touch with Carrie, but after they received messages from her phone number asking them to leave her alone, they stopped investigating. Dave hadn't seen or heard from Liz in quite some time, since she had come to collect her things. Until one day, she decided to contact him again. She told him that Carrie keyed her car and brought it over to show him. He started receiving an overwhelming amount of threatening text messages from Carrie again. But now, they weren't coming from just Carrie's phone, but from many different numbers. He would also receive horrible emails. Dave claimed that he was receiving at least 125 messages a day from Carrie. He would receive texts and calls from 30 different phone numbers and emails from 30 different email accounts. In January 2013, Dave and Liz consented for authorities to download information from their cell phones to obtain data related to the texts and emails sent by Carrie. But these downloads were not full-blown investigative downloads where authorities retrieve deleted data. However, these messages did not compare to what happened next. One day, Dave received a picture from Carrie showing the inside of Liz's house. He instantly began to panic. Somehow, Carrie entered Liz's house and spray painted the walls and slashed Liz's clothing. He felt immense guilt for what was happening to Liz, and they began spending more time together. They soon rekindled their relationship, but their relationship would continue to be an on-again, off-again cycle. It didn't take long for his ex-wife Amy to learn of the unsettling texts and threats. She told Dave that she did not feel comfortable with their children spending weekends at his apartment anymore. He understood her concerns and agreed to visit the kids at Amy's house. However, soon Amy would start receiving threats and harassment from Carrie as well. Some noted the children's whereabouts and even stated she was going to slit the children's throats. Amy was terrified. This prompted Dave to purchase a gun and keep it in his closet for quick access. But one day after coming home from spending time with his children, he soon realized that this gun was missing. He quickly alerted authorities about the theft. During one of his and Liz's breakups, the threatening messages continued, and Dave started spending more time at the bar, drowning his problems in alcohol. However, things would only get worse. On August 17, 2013, a fire was reported at the residence Liz Gollier was renting. She told investigators on the scene that her and her children had left the home at 3 p.m. the day before, and she had come home that morning to discover it on fire. Her animals, 2 dogs, a cat, and a pet snake, all perished in the fire. Investigators were able to determine at least 6 different points of origin of the fire and also discovered the use of accelerants. At 12:56 a.m., Liz received an email from Carrie stating that she hoped her and her children burned to death, while Dave received an email at 11:57 p.m. stating, "I'm not lying. I set that nasty whore's house on fire. I hope the whore and her kids die in it." When Dave read the message, he rushed to Liz's house, where he found her standing outside crying. They then started their relationship back up again. After the fire, Liz moved but did not tell Dave her new address, which he completely understood, as he felt everything that was happening to her was his fault. After a year went past without hearing a word from Carrie, Nancy spoke with investigators again to let them know that Carrie had suffered from bipolar depression. This prompted authorities to investigate her home, where they discovered she had left all her medication. They initially believed that she stopped taking her medication and left of her own accord to start a new life. There were times when she would stop taking her medicine, as her mother recounted that they made her feel numb. But also during the time of her son's disappearance, Carrie's father had been sick, and he eventually died. Nancy knew that her daughter would never had stayed away when her father was terminally ill. After his death, Nancy stated she had a dream of her ex-husband stating that Carrie was with him. It was from this dream that Nancy believed her daughter was dead. But how could she be dead while stalking and harassing Dave, his family, and Liz? In the meantime, Dave moved on with his life, getting a new apartment and a different phone number. After changing his phone number, the harassing calls and texts stopped for a while. In February 2015, he was now living in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and he stopped spending as much time with Liz Gollier. He registered with a new dating website and started talking to a new woman, and they set up a date to meet. Dave waited at the place, but the woman never showed. Just as he was about to leave, thinking he had been stood up, he received a text from the woman saying she was running late and would be there soon, so he continued to wait. But then he received another text from the woman, one that sent chills down his spine. "This is Carrie." He immediately went to the police, but detectives were already starting to dig deeper into Carrie Farver's mysterious disappearance. Their investigation into her bank accounts found that there were no transactions. How does someone begin a new life without money? During mid-November 2015, Dave and Liz were broken up yet again. But then another strange thing happened. On December 4th, Liz told authorities that Amy, Dave's ex-wife, had been sending her harassing messages through Facebook and texts. She told police that she thought maybe Amy was the one harassing her and Dave all along. Liz also stated that Amy even admitted to killing Carrie, with details describing how Carrie was murdered in a car. After this claim, she consented to a download of her cell phone so police could review the threatening messages. And the officer said he would follow up with Amy on Monday. The downloads would soon reveal something very interesting. But on the night of December 5th, 2015, 911 received a call about a woman who had been shot at Big Lake Park, and that the shooter was a woman. It was definitely perplexing for authorities when they learned the victim who had been shot was none other than Liz Gollier. Liz immediately states that Amy was the one who shot her in the leg. Unbeknownst to her, Amy had a concrete alibi, as detectives were at her home interrogating her about Liz's harassment claims. From the downloads that authorities received prior to this incident, investigators knew for a fact that Liz was sending these harassing messages to herself, posing as Amy. Investigators also discovered that the main IP address from many of the messages was coming from an address in the local area. Even more unexpectedly, it came from the home of one of their employees, Todd Butterball. Authorities obtained a search warrant for Todd's home and confiscated his electronics. They also questioned him if anyone else had access to these devices. He said that his girlfriend did, and that she had been staying with him since her house burned down. His girlfriend was Liz Gollier. Todd met Liz in September 2010 through an online dating site and were what he thought an exclusive couple. During the course of their 5-year relationship, Todd helped Liz with her bills, he helped buy her a car, and let her move into his home with her 2 children after her house burned down. He also took care of her children. In January 2013, Todd started receiving texts and emails from Carrie. In these messages, she claimed to be a friend of Liz's and gave her his contact information in case of emergency for Liz. He later asked her about the messages, to which Liz confirmed that, yeah, Carrie was her friend. The texts and emails between Carrie and Todd discussed his relationship with Liz. Todd never knew of Dave's existence or presence in his girlfriend's life until Liz and Dave had their cell phone messages downloaded by authorities. When he learned of Dave, Liz simply told him that she and Dave dated before she met Todd, and they remained friends. In July 2013, Liz and her children moved in with Todd and stayed until either December 2015 or January 2016. Todd and Liz broke up in October 2015. The entire time she dated and lived with Todd Butterbaugh, Liz never once mentioned to him that she was being harassed by Cary or anyone else. She had access to his Wi-Fi network and several electronic devices. To this day, no one really knows the intention or motive for this interaction between Cary and Todd. Authorities still had Cary's vehicle in their possession and began looking for traces of blood. However, they didn't find anything on the surfaces. On February 18, 2016, the technician processed Cary's vehicle a third time. This time, they removed the cloth seat covers and found a large red stain on the passenger side seat foam. DNA testing showed it was Cary's blood. They also discovered Liz's fingerprints on a box of mints in the vehicle. Other enlightening details downloaded from Liz's phone included photos she had taken of Cary's car, 20 to 30 email accounts, and an app that allowed her to schedule text messages to be sent out at a future time. Investigators had their sights on Liz Gollier as their prime suspect. They meticulously went through her phone's contents and records, and eventually found a photo of Cary's car, dated for December 24th, 2012. But Cary's vehicle hadn't been found by authorities until January 2013. Soon they put a tracker on Liz's car and found that she had been circling Dave's ex-wife's house every day. On December 7th, 2015, investigators obtained consent from Amy and Dave to download their cell phones. The download of Dave's phone showed that many of the emails he received from Cary were sent from Todd's IP address during the dates Liz was living with him. From all of this evidence, police believe that Cary is dead and Liz killed her, but they didn't have anything to prove it. They go to Dave for another interview, asking him if he still had any old electronics from 2012 that he may have forgotten about. He wasn't sure, so he went to his storage unit and started looking around when he found an old tablet he had forgotten about. After finding the tablet, he took it to the police. The memory card in the tablet had been completely wiped clean. However, investigators were able to recover 13,000 photos and text messages from it. The tablet did not have texting capabilities, but authorities soon discovered the SD card actually used to belong to Liz's LG phone. Most of the images were selfies of Liz, but there was one picture that caught their attention. At first, it was hard to make out what it was, but eventually they realized it was a picture of a foot with a tattoo. A tattoo of a Chinese character, just like the one Cary had on her foot. Other images found included a blue and gray tarp taken at various angles and a flesh-colored object with a yin-yang symbol. After speaking with Cary's ex-husband, he explained that after they were married, him and Cary got matching yin-yang tattoos. His was on his calf, while hers was on her left hip. A video analyst compared the photos Cary's family provided of her tattoos with the ones recovered on the SD card and found they were very consistent with each other. Authorities advised Dave to move in with Amy and their children in late January to early February 2016 to offer them protection. Dave agreed, but the police had their own motive for this. They knew if Dave moved in with Amy, then Liz would become very angry. The following week, Liz contacted authorities very upset that Amy had not been charged for shooting her. Investigators told her that they needed to download additional texts from her phone, to which she consented. She told them that Amy was still sending her threatening messages. They told Liz that they suspected Amy, but needed additional information to charge her. However, this wasn't true. In reality, they believed Liz shot herself. Liz continued receiving emails from Amy about Carrie's murder. These emails were dated between December 21st, 2015 and February 24th, 2016. Several of the emails confessed to the murder of Carrie, the arson of Liz's home, and one confessed to the shooting of Liz. While the emails confessing Carrie's murder contained various and sometimes inconsistent details about the murder, they all consistently described that Carrie was stabbed in her vehicle, her body was wrapped in a tarp, then later burned and put in the garbage. Her vehicle was cleaned afterward. The killer posed as Carrie after the murder, and the killer went to Carrie's home after the killing. One of these emails even described Carrie Farver's home with amazing accuracy. Liz was then brought in for questioning, denied everything, and asked for an attorney. Authorities did not have Carrie's body, but they had the other evidence and began building their case. Meanwhile, authorities obtained warrants and searched the apartment where Liz was living. They would also search a storage unit where Carrie's mother moved her daughter's possessions. In Liz's apartment, they found LG cell phones, a black and white flower shower curtain that matched the description of the one purchased at a discount store with Carrie's debit card, a red Sony video camcorder, a Nikon Coolpix digital camera, and memory cards. The owner's manuals of the Nikon camera and Sony camcorder were found among Carrie's belongings during the search of the storage unit, along with the receipts from a furniture store showing Carrie had purchased both of these items in October 2012. After Carrie and Dave's first date, where Liz and Carrie briefly walked past each other, Liz knew that Carrie had to go. Over the next 2 weeks, she had made a fake Facebook account and tried to add Carrie as a friend, spray painted Carrie's car, and began stalking her. It's unclear exactly what transpired on the morning of November 13th, as Liz Gollier maintains her innocence to this day. But at some point, Gollier stabbed Carrie to death, most likely while sitting in her car. Immediately after killing Carrie, Liz grabbed her phone and started texting Dave. She spent 3 years sending 15,000 emails and up to 50,000 text messages, posing as Carrie to cover her crime. She even burned down her own house, which she wasn't losing much from this, as she was being evicted and had most of her possessions moved out. She killed her pets and shot herself in the leg, all to carry out her lies. Dave never suspected Liz to be the one behind the text messages, as he would receive them while in clear view of Liz, who would not be on her phone at the time. She was using an app to schedule text messages, and sometimes both of them would receive a text message at the same time. Another tidbit of information that I could not find a timeline for was that Carrie's son Max had actually tried to reach out to his mother on Facebook. He did not expect to receive a response, but he still wanted to try. To his surprise, she messaged him back. But before going any further, Max decided to ask Carrie 3 security-like questions to make sure he was actually speaking to his mother. He never received an answer to any of these questions. Some of the horrifying texts that Dave received from the perpetrator included a text with a photo of an unidentified woman in a trunk and a message threatening to murder Liz. She even sent a fake obituary to Dave with negative things to say about Liz. One of the biggest pieces of evidence which connected Liz to Carrie's murder was Carrie's vehicle she had been stabbed in. On Liz's phone was a picture of Carrie's license plate. The photo sent to Dave of the woman in the trunk was on Liz's phone, as well as a video taken outside of Dave's apartment. This video was reportedly uploaded to YouTube under Carrie's account, but the IP address was traced back to Liz's home. Liz waived a jury trial and did not testify at the bench trial. After the state rested, Liz moved for a directed motion of acquittal. This movement was subsequently overruled by the court. The defense also did not present any evidence of Liz's innocence. In 2017, Liz Gollier was convicted of first-degree murder and second-degree arson. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole on the murder conviction and 18 to 20 years on the arson conviction. She appeals her sentence, maintaining her innocence. Liz argued that the evidence at trial was insufficient to prove the elements of first-degree murder and second-degree arson. She furthered that her trial counsel provided ineffective assistance by not adequately advising her of her right to a jury trial, failing to move to sever the charges against her, failing to file any pretrial motions, waiving objections to the vast majority of evidence introduced by the state, failing to put on any sort of defense, failing to adequately advise her on her right to testify, and being unprepared for the trial. Her appeal was rejected. Dave was left stunned by how everything in the investigation unfolded. He stated, "I want Liz to go away and never do this to anybody again. Nancy and Carrie's son were foremost in my mind. They're unfortunately the ones that have to live with the repercussions." After the sentencing, Carrie's mother, Nancy, is truly grateful to the investigators and stated that they saved her sanity. However, Dave still carries around guilt for what happened to Carrie. He blames himself for the events that transpired and believes if he hadn't started a relationship with Carrie, she would still be alive today. Carrie Farver's body has still not been recovered. Before Liz was caught and her scheme was made public, many people thought Carrie had gone down a dark path. After the trial concluded, the Pottawatomie County Community Foundation set up a scholarship fund in Carrie's name to support students who are pursuing careers in information technology and to have Carrie remembered in a more positive light. So what did you think of today's case? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and follow for more crime stories. Thank you for listening and your support. Stay safe, and I will see you for the next episode. Bye!